sometimes I'm in Chattanooga, sometimes I'm in Chicago, but right now I'm in Chickamauga, Georgia. So, and then there's a lot of you from all over the world. So welcome to WEED, Women Eco Arts Dialogue. We're here to honor and spotlight the work of our WEED Bay Area artist and educator, Robin Lasser. I'm obsessed, personally. I love your work. I've been sharing it a lot. So first, just a little bit about our organization. We're founded in 1996. We're a volunteer run collective of female identifying visual artists, writers, curators, art historians. I would add in poets because I am one, researchers, scientists, and others interested in highlighting the intersection of art and ecology and issues around those things. So again, I'm Leah Dalton. I'm a WEED board member. I'm joined here today by our co-host Mary White and Manoush. You're amazing. I am obsessed with your work as well. You've been doing some really amazing things. You're always traveling, and I'm like, she's always up to something. What's she doing? um, so first we'll start with a land acknowledgement. I will start with the Bay Area, where a big part of our members are like from and working from. So WEED's office sits on the territory of the Huichen, the ancestral unceded land of the Xhoshenu, speaking Ohlone people, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Alameda County, near one of the largest shell mounds in the Bay Area. This land was and continues to be of great importance to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and familiar descendants of the Verona Band. We recognize the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. We are campaigning to become federally recognized. The Association of the Ramaytush Ohlone, who are researching, revitalizing, and preserving the Ohlone history and culture, and the Confederate villages of the Le Jajon. I think I might have messed that one up a little, but I am here to learn too. And the Sogoreje Land Trust, who we are working to return native land back to Indigenous stewardship. And I'm also speaking from currently the Chickamauga, Georgia area, which is a land that has historically and is currently part of the Cherokee Nation. I am on Cherokee Nation land, and I am constantly working with and in that intersection of giving back and being a part of that. And then, yes, let's, Mary, you take it away from here. And
Okay, hi, everybody, welcome. We have a little Zoom housekeeping. We're recording this presentation, and please keep your audio muted during the presentation. The host may mute you if there's extra noise. If you have questions during the presentation, please put them in the chat in the question section, and we'll stop the first recording after the presentation, immediately start the second recording for questions and answers. And this recording will be archived on our website. Now I'd like to introduce Robin. Robin Lasser is a professor of art at San Jose State University. She produces photographs, video, site-specific installations, and public art dealing with public health, environmental issues, and social justice. Lasser has been making environmental art for over 3 decades. She was on the board of WEED quite a while ago. She will share facets of work connected to 4 long-term projects: dress tents, migratory cultures, tent talks, and ice ship week. Lasser invites you on a journey to explore the process of making art that lives in public space Although her projects may look physically different from one to another, the topics she tangles with over the years have connected threads. Lasser works collaboratively in the public sphere, creating social sculptures and providing opportunities for communities, local and global, to engage in experiences that highlight social, public health, and environmental issues. The relationship between ourselves and the world we occupy. These projects take place across the globe, including Russia, India, China, Argentina, Brazil, and Canada. Image making and story sharing are central to her practice. Robin exhibits her work nationally and internationally: the Asian Art Museum, San Jose Museum of Art, National Gallery of Modern Art, Bangalore in India, the Museum of Goa, India, the Exploratorium Observation Gallery in San Francisco, the Kohler Museum of Art, the Mentova Museum of Photography, and in Russia, the Recoleta Cultural Center in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and the Kailex, Caixa Cultural Center in Rio de Janeiro. Lasser also participates in international biennales such as 01, Global Art on Edge, San Jose, California, Nuit Blanche, Toronto, Canada, and the Pingyo International Photography Festival in Pingyo, Japan, China. Early national and international exhibits include the Arison Gallery, Parsons School of Design in New York City, Wave Hill, Glendor Gallery in the Bronx, New York City, LA County Museum of Art in Los Angeles, the De Young Museum in San Francisco, the Osaka World Trade Center Museum in Japan, and the Academy of Film in Prague, Czech Republic. Lasser is currently the U.S. project lead and participating artist in a cross-cultural art exchanges between Russia, Iran, India, and the U.S. So with no further ado, let's give her all a virtual welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you, thank you.
Last, Robin.
Let's see. We are here. Thanks so much for those great introductions. And let me just see how I can minimize. There we go. All right. Anyway, thank you, Marianne Manouche, for inviting me to share my work today. And I also want to thank Susan Steinman and Joe Hansen, the founders of WEED almost 3 decades ago, I believe. And thank you to Leah for the beautiful land acknowledgements. In this slide, I introduce you to a series of work created with my collaborator of almost 20 years, Adrian Powell, and the project's called Dress Tents Nomadic Wearable Architecture. They are a conflation of photography, fashion, performance, and installation art. I am Miss Homeland Security, the illegal entry dress tent. I look through binoculars towards home, San Diego, where I grew up, California, which I still call home, and the country that has erected the border wall at my back. The sun beats down, but beneath me there is a shelter, a place to rest in the shade and reflect on this place. Together, Adrian and I have created 18 pieces of wearable architecture. Each installation references topics pertaining to place and culture where the dress tent is located, allowing us to explore body and land as 2 symbols of shelter and to connect a fashion of place in these community meeting grounds. Visitors are invited to step inside the dress tent, write and draw about their own relationship to border issues on the top of the tent cot in the interior, and thus cross the border between public and private space. Ms. Homeland Security is a shelter providing refuge from the desert extremes, a temporary encampment that encourages community story sharing and deep listening with regard to one of the most pressing issues of our time, global immigration rights. It's a crisp day, and we are standing amid California's snowy Mount Shasta. Above us is one of the few advancing glaciers in the world. Standing tall in the snow is a sexy weather hazard emergency worker in her winter garb, holding a white weather balloon. The balloon, which doubles as a moon, wirelessly transmits weather-related data to the interior of the dress tent. When we venture inside this woman's dress, we find a polar weather station and research lab. The Ice Queen, the glacial retreat dress tent done in 2008, offers a space to ponder the earth, global warming, and glaciers. A chorus of crickets varies their tune in direct relationship to the climatic changes that have occurred across the globe, from the Industrial Revolution to the present. Overlaid upon the cricket chirping are weather reports from the locale in which tent is stationed. This is a sari dress tent installed in front of City Hall in San Francisco. After her public performance, she migrated to the Asian Art Museum, where traditional dancers from India reactivate the dress tent. Here we're in the interior of the sari dress tent. 17 women who migrated from India to the Bay Area donated the stunning saris that create the tent's interior. In addition to the sari donation, each woman shared their migration story, and all 17 stories played in a loop in the tent interior. The stories are enjoyed in between times when the dress tent is activated by Kathak dancers. Let me play about a minute and a half short film to share what the performances are like. We started before sunrise, and the sun came up, and it started to light up all the gold in the city hall, and all of our throats just jumped high.
And we also thought, how amazing is it to get to shoot a photo in front of City Hall?
So here it is, the sari dress tent. It's about to start. The dancers are about to activate the dress, so let's take a look.
When you go inside the tent, you will see 18 saris donated from women who have emigrated from India. And the stories are so powerful.
And there was a story because it was someone's most favorite sari gifted by their grandmom, or it was a sari they wore for a special occasion. And so every sari had a story.
So the sari for me is nostalgia, is hope, and is freedom.
The backyard songbird dress tent and garden proposal is a semi-permanent piece originally commissioned by the Montalvo Art Center in Saratoga, California. The contract for this commission was made just a week prior to the pandemic. We were not able to realize the work during the height of the pandemic, but we're renegotiating having it built in 2025 or 26. COVID bubbles. California's Dress for Emergence is one of 18 statewide community projects commissioned by the state of California and the center at Sierra Health Foundation. The state of California's Your Action Saves Lives campaign, which provides Californians with information about how to do their part to stop the spread of COVID-19. And this was, of course, back in 2020. Partners with local artists to reach disproportionately impacted communities throughout the state. The program features a variety of artwork with empowering public health messages of protecting one another, resilience, and community. We were asked to represent the city of San Jose, and we chose to work with the Latino and Vietnamese communities. This work takes place at the height of the pandemic in 2020. The bubble represents our social, familiar, or our solitary bubbles that we live in during the pandemic. These public art installations activated by Vietnamese and Latino-A community members are meant to empower San Jose communities impacted by the pandemic at the onset of the availability of the first vaccine. The spirit of the work is intended to provide a sense of magic, to uplift, and imagine a hopeful future as we emerge from our solitary bubbles. In a moment, I'll share a brief video made by the governor's office to document this project.
Hi, I'm Adrienne.
And I'm Robin, and we're based in the Bay Area.
Our project is titled Vietnamese and Latinx Bubbles, Californians Dress for Emergence. We have such an incredible team on this project: photographers, videographers, our fashion designer, models, assistants, volunteers.
The work is totally a collaboration. We were thinking that for the last year and a half, so many of us have lived in our individual bubbles, our familiar bubbles.
We are looking at 2 gigantic bubbles, and these are housing and becoming otherworldly dresses. They are going to be installed in Kelly Park in San Jose and also the Heritage Rose Garden in San Jose. And they will be up for one day as semi-permanent installations for our photo shoot. And we are going to be capturing these amazing photos, which will eventually go up on billboards on Highway 101.
We want this installation and these billboards to feel like a burst of magic. And then the second thing that hits you would be the messaging on the lanterns or the papel picado. There are messages like vaccinated, let's celebrate. Wearing a mask expresses love. We work with members of the community, not professional models. And we do this as a way to empower the community itself, and as a way of deep listening, and as a way of providing a venue for others to share their story, not ours.
We wanted to engage with our community members in San Jose and make sure that we were working in a very positive way and achieving messaging that would really truly reach the community. We are so thrilled that these will be seen by so many people driving up and down the highway, and there's going to be this amazing magical moment that captures them, and it will ask them to pause and take a look and realize that we are so close, but we still need to help each other end the pandemic.
Rather than telling people they should get out and get vaccinated, the messaging on the billboards speak to the relief, joy, and celebration one feels when vaccinated. And how good it would be to feel and visit your grandparents once again, and visit safely with friends. 12 unique and eye-catching billboards went up in underserved areas of San Jose in July and August in 2021. Trami Kron, in the image on the left, served as community leader for the Vietnamese community. Here we're being interviewed by Chloe Veltman, reporter for NPR KQED. The project was also covered by national stations such as NBC and ABC, as well as local stations such as Telemundo, serving the Latinx community, and Vietnamese local stations such as CBTN. We wanted to ensure the message was received in a dynamic and an inclusive fashion. Media attention for this project allows for greater dissemination, even beyond the public billboards. The Migratory Cultures project premiered in Watsonville, California, home of many migrants. Stories were collected from Watsonville and the Greater Bay Area from those who lived locally and who have emigrated from 15 differing nations. These stories were projected and mapped onto a handball court in the center of town. The walls of the court are 20 feet high and 40 feet long. The two courts are divided by a central wall, which served as a border of sorts, bisecting the figure as they shared their story. The additional walls were filled with moving images of water. Thus, the viewer is enveloped by the larger-than-life storyteller and watery environment. Next, I'll share a 1.5-minute documentation of the projection mapping of 15 migration stories onto the facade of the San Jose Museum of Art.
I look back and I see just what I've inherited and what I'm leaving behind. As a Pakistani American Muslim, there are times when I have felt personally that I belong neither here nor there.
We spent between 2 to 3 months trying to pass. You know, we went through a lot of struggles, and I felt like we were all gonna die because it was just like there were so many people in the truck. It was hard, but we had a hope.
When I'm living in Ethiopia, America was this kind of this ideal place. It's this place where, you know, life was great, and it's just kind of this utopian place. But I didn't realize I was Black until I came to America.
This next video documentation is from a project called Dream Boats. It's a community engagement project where videos are projected onto the trees surrounding the pond. The stories highlight Vietnamese Americans living in San Jose.
I was 10 months old when we left Vietnam as refugees, known as boat people. And when we got to the boat, so this is basically a fishing boat with about 55 people on the boat. People, you know, didn't want to go back to Vietnam, so just the thought of that, pretty painful, you know. You have to imagine the journey, the devastation and the trauma that is passed down from a generation.
Wow. Now I'm getting to a work that's currently being in the made and not shown yet. And this first project is called Art About, and it's a first of a kind interpretive experience with California state parks to engage artists in the process of reimagining our personal connections to place. Following the 2020 CZU Lightning Complex fire, Big Basin Redwood State Park was left immeasurably changed by the impact of a high-intensity fire, fueled by the effects of climate change and more than 200 years of fuel suppression. Art About seeks to facilitate an experience for regional artists to understand the complexities of Big Basin's ongoing transition from the effects of devastation to the impact of inspiration. 18 artists participate in the Big Basin Redwood State Park Art About, and the opening reception takes place June 15th, 2024. The works will be up through the summer and beyond.
Hi, I'm Scott Shepard, and I'm the interpretive manager for the Santa Cruz District, and I'm here in Big Basin Redwood State Park, and I'm sitting with Robin Lasser, professor with San Jose State University. Robin, would you be willing to introduce yourself?
Yes, but I would feel like I'm a tape recorder repeating. But yeah, hello, I'm Robin Lasser, and I'm a professor of art at San Jose State University, and really excited by sitting here in this spot this morning and just listening to the water, a little bit of the wind, and Scott.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to enjoy out here in Big Basin today, and we're here to talk about the Big Basin Art About, which is being facilitated by California State Parks Backpacking Adventures here in Big Basin. This is going to be the first camping trip in Big Basin since the CZU fire in 2020, and we're inviting artists of a variety of different mediums to come out and join us and to create art pieces inspired by that experience, inspired by the resources here in the park. Robin, what really inspires you to be involved in a project like the Big Basin Art About?
Well, myself personally, I've spent the last 30 years creating art for public space. So in addition to museum and gallery settings, I feel most connected to making things that you can discover in places that you don't expect to discover art.
Mm-hmm.
Another is I've been interested in fire as an artist, as a medium, for almost over 30 years. 32 years ago, my neighborhood in Oakland burnt down.
Mm-hmm.
And again, 3 decades later, just an hour south of where I teach, the CZU firestorm had a place here in the park, and they shared a common, which is fire, but their resiliency was really different. And I'm really excited now to be here to think not only about the archaeologies of longing and loss, but also the reimagination of what this place will become culturally in terms of the human interface, and equally important, what this place will become for the future of the plants and these incredible redwoods still standing, and all the other little creatures that squirm around in the soil.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my mock-up for an artistic interpretive signage for the park, taking on the form of a large-scale postcard to be installed on the path around the Redwood Loop Trail. 10 pieces will grace the mile-long path. Dear park visitor, the sculpted tents hold stories about Big Basin Redwood State Park. The stories mirror 3 unique narratives: a conservation story, life experiences in Big Basin prior to and during the CZU lightning complex firestorm, and chronicles of resilience. The narratives and associated artworks are shared on site utilizing 3 educational platforms: artistic postcards installed along the trail, experimental short films, and tent sculptures. All venues connect to each other. They provide park history and firsthand accounts, capturing a part of the park's story that hasn't been told before. Please share your dreams for the future of Big Basin on the postcards available in the visitor center. So that's the first piece of signage you'd see along the trail. Each takes on a unique form that mirrors the designs of tents utilized in emergency relief natural disaster zones, as well as typical tent structures utilized for recreational camping. They are miniature in scale. They're bird size. I'm Robin. The fabrics for the tents are created uniquely for each unique structure. I start by photographing the colors and textures delighting the eye along the Redwood Trail. These include blackened tree barks in contrast to brilliant new green growth. Another example, the twirl patterned bark of a tree with a recessive gene growing along the trail. I convert these photographic documents into design patterns and print them onto water-resistant cloth. The tent fabrics includes designs that echo fire and smoke, scars from the firestorm, and celebration of the renewal with newly sprouting plants, trees, and returning birds. Let me show you about 2 minutes from a short film that's called Tent Talks. The videos can be accessed along the trail via QR code designed on the postcard signage. This clip is a segment from one of 4 experimental films highlighting the park's history, the firestorm and evacuation process, and finally, today's park's resilience.
My name is Susan Blake, and I'm an interpreter. In state parks, we're called an interpreter 1, certain level, and I was an interpreter 1 at Big Basin for 16 years. Big Basin was a really fun place to camp. It was, you could either be a person, the quiet one, sitting with your book, choosing to go on an early morning hike, or you could be in a group of families. You've all got campsites all near each other. The kids are yelling and screaming and running around. The parents are cooking the meals, and everybody sits around the fire and roasts marshmallows underneath the trees. For a lot of people, it's quiet. You're sitting in your chair maybe at night, and you just look up and you're surrounded by these trees that you've learned have been there for anywhere 500, 1,000, 2,000 years. Stars are barely peeking in between all the canopy that's surrounding you. I used to love walking among the campers and smell that smoke. I camped a lot as a kid, and it would just bring back memories. And I was really happy to know that so many people were making memories the same kind that I did, that still bring me happiness and childhood and just that comfort with nature. When it opened way back in early 1900s, you didn't even have to pay. It was only open in the summer, and you could camp anywhere. The mother of the forest was popular, the father of the forest. Some people would keep their camping gear hidden in those trees and come back the next summer. The mother, being almost 2,000 years old, had seen the native Californians come through. The mother, once there was a fire within the mother, that spot was used as a dark room for photography with Andrew P. Hill. It was used as a place to camp for campers. It was used as a place of refuge to get away. It's called a goose pen, named because people used to pen, be able to put their animals and just put up a little gate and keep some of the foxes and coyotes and raccoons away from their livestock. So the mother would have seen small fires, maybe a couple of big fires. The mother was certainly burnt on the bark, and storms would have just absolutely rattled the canopy, and it would have swayed in an arc that you wouldn't believe it could without breaking off.
So in this project, I wanted to highlight 4 women who I thought made great contributions to the park. One you just heard in the film, and she also participated in writing a set of postcards that can be seen along the trail. Susan works as an interpreter in Big Basin for almost 20 years.
Postcard read by Susan Blake, Park Interpreter.
Dear Fire Follower, August 16, 2020. I was awakened by the lightning storm. That was Sunday, and by Monday, we realized there were some spot fires, and we started closing off the trails to the backcountry. But this was Big Basin, California's oldest park, had been here for hundreds of years. We would be fine. My neighbor texted me on day 3 and said we must get out now. We were driving up that windy Highway 236, and there were so many cars. All the people living in those hills and all the campers were being evacuated from Big Basin. The sky was a deep orange that I had never seen before or since. Anxiously yours, Susan.
This postcard is presented by Tracy Bliss, author of Big Basin Redwood Forest, California's oldest state park. In many ways, the creation of the park marks the beginning of the environmental movement in California. One of the early activists and journalists, Josephine McCracken, was reenacted and performed by interpreter Susan Blake inside the burnt cavern of the mother tree. In this postcard, Tracy talks about her great aunt and the exciting role of women in the opening of the first California state park, protecting the remaining old-growth trees.
Postcard from Tracy Bliss, author of Big Basin Redwood Forest, California's oldest state park.
Dear park visitors, when I was a young child enjoying Big Basin in the 1950s, my great-great-aunt, Jenny Bliss Jeter, told me how California's first state park came to be. Yet I only remembered the exciting role of women. Jenny had advocated for public awareness of deforestation for decades. And in 1900, women's clubs statewide joined the Semper Virens cause. Their motto, "To be preserved in a state of nature," was prominent at both park entrances and welcomed all the early visitors. Sincerely, Tracy Bliss.
This postcard is presented by Australia Bibby, a naturalist and volunteer in the park for almost 20 years. She is one of the 4 women I highlight in this project, giving voice to those that lived in or worked in the park for decades.
Postcard read by Estrella Bibby, park volunteer and naturalist.
Dear future campers, the resilient redwoods have survived the fire, but the forest canopy now offers little shade or cover to the marbled murrelet, a seabird that comes into the ancient forest looking to nest on a mossy branch high up in a tree. The marbled murrelet is just one of the considerations as we reimagine Big Basin and work to protect these trees and the wildlife we care about. Is camping right here under these ancient redwoods truly the best way to protect these trees? What are your thoughts? Love, Estrella.
Postcard read by. And this will be the last project I'll share with you today. Ice Ships Weep, and it's a film trilogy, large-scale photographs, and a series of artistic postcards. The Plattsburgh Museum of Art, sited along the shore of Lake Champlain, invited myself and collaborator Margaret Perret to fill their museum space with artworks investigating water. It took me a while and lots of research to discover my hook, my bridge to the lake and its waters. I discovered the lake is a burial ground for 300 foundered ships from the Industrial Revolution to the present. For me, this burial ground became a living archive, documenting the time frame associated with climate change. Shipwrecks, for me, become a metaphor for our climatic shifts. What of us remains when the lake stops freezing? Melted, pigmented ice ships slowly sink, their residue forming ink-based paintings, resembling burnt landscapes and seas. As the cast ice ships melt, their residues create unique watersheds, the shipwreck's final burial ground. Filmic traces serve as an imagined constructed aerial map, satellite footage documenting our climate's fabricated fire, ice, and water storms. The ice ships are stand-ins for melting glaciers, our most visible barometer of climate change. The images are documentations of temporal miniature installations I fabricate to be photographed. The ships made from silicon molds of cast mini rowboats, steamboats, lifeboats, and cruise ships are filled with pigmented water and then exposed to freezing temperatures. Cameras capture the ice ships melting in time. As they melt, the tiers of the shape-shifting craft form unique watersheds. The video demarcates the theater of dissolution. The still camera marks a moment in our evolution. Shipwrecks may serve as an iconic metaphor for the current state of our Earth. There are 300 wrecks below the waters of Plattsburgh's Lake Champlain, as well as 300 species of birds flying above, utilizing the lake as habitat. From a bird's eye view, after the ice of the lake melts, faint outlines of some of these ships are visible on a clear day. Let me share with you a clip of Requiem, Ice Ship Weeps. And the trilogy should be shown as large-scale projections to maximize the micro and macro aspects of this work. Cries now pierce the silence.
and in their death, so alive. But now lie ungainly and smothered, attempting to utter stories garbled and choked in their lonesome, inky, cloister-quiet graveyard.
What of us?
How shall we measure our missteps? With sunken ships? With ice's demise? With footprints of carbon? With mass extinction? Ships and lives and desire and memories, dreamlike topple and plunge to wet twilight, forming scattered constellations in another sky. As above, so below.
As above, so below. 300 species of birds, 300 foundered ships. What of us remains? There are rich histories and narratives associated with the wrecks. The first steamship to founder on Lake Champlain, aptly named Phoenix, marks in time the early stages of the Industrial Revolution. Lake Champlain's shipwreck burial ground serves as a timeline, a mariner archive of the Industrial Revolution to the present, demarcating the era responsible for the climate crisis, profoundly affecting our shared global commons, water. The Ice Ship Weeps project is supported by the Plattsburgh Museum of Art in New York, a two-person collaborative exhibition August through December 2024, and the Nature of Cities, TNOC International Festival in 2024, taking place at the Atelier Gardens in Berlin, Germany. The exhibitions highlight room-size immersive video projections, sea shanty ballads composed in collaboration with riparian trees, and a series of Ice Ships Weep large-scale photographs and artistic postcards. David Fadden is a Mohawk artist, author, and storyteller. His artwork has been exhibited at the Smithsonian National Museum of American Indian Art. When doing an artist residency in Plattsburgh, my collaborator, Margaret Perret, and I had a chance to visit this museum. He was gracious enough to spare a few hours, and we had a great conversation. I'll share 3 minutes of this important water story. The Ice Ships Weep series carries narratives of local figures living within the Lake Champlain watershed, as well as spoken word ballads and sea shanties.
Water is life. Scientifically, spiritually, everything is, without it, we're dust. You know, we're not here. It's science. Indigenous people recognize the natural world and that a lot of cases, you know, it's not something to be dominated or controlled. You know, we live with it. You know, we don't go against it. There's gifts that they provide for us to survive, including water. You know, it's one of the more important elements in creation. The rain, how do you say it? Yokanolo. That means it's raining. Matehuelas, that's the thunder beings, the thunders, the grandfathers that come. It's even a ceremony for that. The first time you hear the thunder, you're always supposed to throw tobacco out for them, because if you don't hear them, that means there's no rain, and then it's scary. St. Lawrence, in my experience with that river, goes way back to when I was a kid. There's a St. Lawrence Seaway that was dredged, it goes through and big ships pass. But there was this one spot right on the boundary of the reservation, and just to the west of it is General Motors had a foundry plant. Right on the river, where the current wasn't strong at all, and the water was warmer, and that's where all the kids would go swimming. And this is probably the late 70s, and I was in there with my brother and other kids and swimming. And my brother says, "Get out of the water." And so I got out, and I was like, "Why?" And he's pointed across on the other side of that little body of water on the banks were these men in contamination suits, toxic suits, examining the bank, taking samples. And he's like, "What are they doing?" And turns out on that other side was a toxic dump, illegal, loaded with PCBs. And they found a turtle that was, when it was examined and tested, it was just full of PCBs, and it was 300 times what's considered toxic. And that was the turtle.
The project contains a series of 16 postcards with a photograph on the front and fragments of the ice shanty ballad on the back. Visitors are invited to share their own relationship to local water on the backs of these cards. And this is the last thing I'm going to share with you tonight. It's a sea shanty. This film and ballad are based on interviews conducted with Chris Sabak, a senior archaeologist at the Lake Champlain Maritime Museum. His fascinating work about the 300 shipwrecks buried at the bottom of Lake Champlain, and his desire to excavate the foundered ships' stories, and finally, the toll that climate change takes on our ability to study history via these crafts, is quite spellbinding. The lyrics to the shanty are written and sung by Gil Guillermo and Ali Hala. Let me show you a clip from the shanty, the last piece shared with you today.
Amidst the waves and the wind and the fire, a mariner's story took shape. A hardy crew, a seaworthy vessel, unaware of a watery fate. From the Hudson north to Canada, over 100 miles to sail. But for war, for wind, and for fire and ice, this vessel she never should fail. What of us remains? Midst the waves, a story took shape. Climate's ballad, a world at stake. As icebergs weep, sailors slip away, we sail boldly on towards a fateful day. Chart a course, head as high, calls the captain. and the vessel she did hasten on. Yet how many women and children and men sailed never to see their next dawn? What of us remain? Mr. Waves, a story took shape. Climate's ballad, a world at stake. As icebergs weep, sailors slip away, we sail boldly on toward a fateful day. Their cries now pierce the silence. The panic has turned to peace. More than 300 ships lie solemnly still, bleeding countless tales apiece. From above we could once see the boneyard, now obscured by mussels and floods. If we lose the sense of our place in the past, will the earth sail on without us? What of us remains? What of us remains? What of us remains?
Oh, so thank you so much. If you want to see some more projects by Ms. Robin Lasser, you can go to robinlasser.com. And thanks so much for taking this adventure with me today. So now how do I get back?
Let's see. Robin, thank you so
you.
much. Let's
you.
have everybody give a nice round of applause for Robin. Leah?
Yeah, thank you all for coming. You guys are amazing. Thank you, Robin.
Can you stop sharing your?
Oh, there we go. Wait a minute. I was looking for that. Let's see. I'm trying to go to the stop share. I'm not sure why that's not letting me. There we go.
Right.
Yay.
Yay.
Now I get to be back with humans.
Yay. That was beautiful. Thank you, Robin.
My complete pleasure.
So if you guys do have, there's a lot of things going on in the chat. So thank you all for those comments. Yeah, thank you.
Wow,
So yeah,
there's chat blinking going on here.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone coming and like supporting Weed's mission and vision, which is like just continuing another decade of our network of working with women identifying individuals and that intersection of activists, artists, and environment. And I just wanted to go over that a little bit with everybody, but yeah, there's a lot of you still on here. So, but yeah, as if you don't already know, Weed is in the midst of rebuilding and updating our artist directory. So that's exciting. So we have probably within like a new archive of different tools for artists in the directory and different membership kind of things that we're working through. And we just thank you for any support that you have already given to us. It means a lot. And yeah, just like continue to do that and reach out to us if you want to kind of see more things, or if you have feedback, and then also just if you want to share with us your kind of, if you're looking or exploring becoming a member, let us know. And then, yep, we're looking for volunteers, particularly to help with monthly newsletters, and we're looking for 2 new board members. One who knows like maybe how to work with WordPress or website stuff that we're working on to promote our members and what we're doing as artists and activists and community members. So we are kind of open for that, 2 new board members and a volunteer. And then, yeah, members that might be interested in developing new projects. And yeah, it is a commitment. We have about 12 hours per month for board members, but volunteers, that's a little bit more flexible. But yeah, if any of you that are listening in today are interested, please reach out to us either through our website, or you can go to our email, which I'll put in the chat too, but it's info@weedartist.org. And I'll put it in our chat too. But thank you all again for dropping in today. And
so now we'll go to the question and answer period. So we'll stop this recording.